We pushed you over the edge, Chris.
On the dark side.
Play hard with these things.
Luke Skywalker. I'm an asshole, just so everybody knows. Well, welcome to Force Connect, the only live Star Wars conversation talk show thing that happens on Friday nights where we take your calls. We talk about all the Star Wars news of the week. We pick a topic, we do stuff, we talk, we have a drink, and we talk about Star Wars. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Pete Fletzer. I am joined by my co-host, Chris Ryans. Chris, how you doing? And we couldn't get Nick tonight, so we got Mick. We moved one letter down the alphabet, and we brought in Mick from now. So I guess technically I'm a guest on Nice Guys podcast tonight, right? I mean, this is what you guys do.
It's a crossover.
Sure.
It's a
crossover.
It's like this is like Secret Wars 2 when they like the Beyonder when they he would be in like 17 different books back in 1987.
Yeah,
it's a crossover.
It's a crossover event. It's like remember like when like Magnum PI would like cross over with
The Golden Girls.
the Golden Girls. Now I would see. How
that
did
would have been
that
TV
happen?
history right there. Yeah,
How did that not happen?
He actually he crossed over with Murder She Wrote. In all honesty,
Is that I see? I knew there was a Magnum one. I knew it. I knew it.
No, we're old.
Yeah, I knew it was an old white lady.
Which is what most TV was in the 70s anyway, I think. And Heather Thomas. That's all I remember. Yeah, not for nothing. I was watching for no reason. I was flipping, I had the Fire Stick in the spare room, and I'm like just flipping around watching TV one night, and I started watching The Fall Guy again.
Oh my god,
The Fall Guy. And actually, you know what? I really enjoyed it. And I hate to say, and it might be because I used to think Heather Thomas was just the most beautiful thing ever on the planet when I was 12 years old or whatever it was. But anyway, those
his truck from that show.
Yes. Yeah, he had like a big
and
blue...
Heather Thomas.
And Heather Thomas.
And the truck.
Because I'm the unknown stuntman who made parallel. So hey, so we're here to talk about Star Wars, not necessarily The Fall Guy, but we are going to talk a little Indiana Jones, I'm sure, as well. If you are joining us live, thank you so much for hanging out. You know that you get that opportunity to call in a little bit later on in the show, and we definitely want you to do that. But we have to do our official sort of housekeeping like we do at the beginning of every single show. So, hey, follow us on all your social media networks at the SSW Network. You can join us on Patreon, which... If you're a Patreon member, we're going to do our first monthly giveaway tonight. So hang out for that. But for as little as $3 a month, you can be part of the Patreon family. You'll get swag drops every now and again. You'll also get to join us, most importantly, when we do our live conversations. And that means like when we talk to Greg Grunberg or Deborah Wilson or any of our guests. We just recently, this past week, we talked to Jamie Benning and Justin Berger, who wrote the Unauthorized Return of the Jedi Timeline. That book just came to me today, and it's fantastic. Definitely worth doing. And hey, if you like goofy t-shirts, head on over to sswnetworkshop.com and you can get all of our latest t-shirts. And if you use the code CONNECT15, you get 15% off your entire order. All of it, the whole thing. You can buy stickers, you can buy mugs, you can buy, I don't know what else is on there. I think we have some hats.
Buttons.
I don't know. Buttons, sure. Yeah, you can buy they can go on your Mork and Mindy suspenders. See, here we are back in the 70s and 80s. Are we going to get by that today? Maybe not. We might not. So one more thing too, we're starting to slowly move the Force Connect show to its own podcast stream, which we now have. You can probably find it in Apple. I know you can find it in Spotify and all the other major podcast outlets. Just look for Force Connect there. Within a couple months, it'll probably be off the Around the Galaxy stream, but look for that there. And also, I'm going to pitch it because it happened today, and I'm going to do it. If you want a cameo of me telling you or your friend something or congratulating, it's so bizarre, man. I was telling the guys before I got on, I got this invitation to do it, and so I'm doing it. And but in all seriousness, if it is something you're interested in, all the proceeds from now until Podathon are going to go to Make-A-Wish. So And unlike Snoop Dogg, who's $750 for a cameo, I'm 50, yeah. And
Well, there goes Chris's birthday gift.
we were so close to pulling that one together. Yeah.
Wow.
$750 to have Snoop Dogg go, hey man, so and like throw some shizzles and whizzles in there, and I don't know, man. I just don't know. But hey, you know what, Chris? Since Nick's not here,
Shizzles and whizzles. Sorry.
what did that? It's
It
okay.
sounds like something. It's like a Willy Wonka flavor or something for like the Timothy.
Yeah.
For $15, I'll throw some shizzles and whizzles your way.
Pizzles and whizzles, ladies and gentlemen.
But we don't have Nick, but we still have a toast. So I'm gonna let
Yeah.
my good friend Chris Ryans take the toast this
Oh,
evening.
it's my
What do you
first
got, my
toast.
friend? Oh, your first one
Okay.
ever.
It's my first toast. All right,
Good.
this one. Now we know with Lucasfilm and Star Wars and all that, they the hot commodity are the young content creators and young portion of our fandom. But let's give a toast to those of us who've been there since the beginning, the generation that kept Star Wars going in the darkest of times, that
Yes, sir.
16-year block where we just kept the love alive for Star Wars. So this one goes out to all my fans from my era, that we're all baked in the original trilogy era, but, and this is going to be a little exclusionary, but we also are accepting, embracing, and open and love most of the new stuff that comes out, and we don't push it aside because it's not the old stuff, or it doesn't remind us of the old stuff, or whatever. It's Star Wars, we love it. Boom, that's it. This one, it's to all of you. Cheers. Oh, and it's
Yes.
a special glass. This one is, yeah. Oh, you got it too.
I got one
Nice.
too.
Yeah. Half Moth. Thank you.
Moth, thank you so much.
Frank Bryan. Thank you, sir. Okay, we're sure again about like vodka not going bad for like 10, 20 years, right?
Yes, we're 100% sure. In fact,
Okay.
yeah, anything that can be probably used as a anti-infection ointment, you're probably okay. Yeah.
So
Okay.
if you have like a cut or something, just pour it on there and see if it starts to
Well,
bubble,
I
you're
still
probably
have
in
this-
trouble.
I still have this tooth infection. Should I just like switch it around in there?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, fantastic.
Sure, you're gonna feel.
Why did I go to the
Fall out in the
doctor when
middle
I
of the
just
Yeah, really.
Okay.
It's like the old west. This hurts. Have
Yes.
a shot of whiskey. You'll be just fine. So before we go to our first break and come back and talk a little bit about Indy, and we're also going to talk about your favorite droids tonight. We want to find out who you, our listeners, who your favorite droid is. Of course, you're going to get your chance to call in and tell us your top 4, your Mount Rushmore of metalheads. But Mick, tell us a little bit about you, man, because you're going to be keeping us entertained, because if I keep drinking, it's going to get ugly. So
He's like, hey, he's drinking too.
But so am I.
Oh, well, all right. This could go. Who knows where this is going to go?
Oh,
But Mick, tell us a
I'm
little
only
bit
on the
about
first right here. I have another after this one.
I got one on the deck, ready
Got
to
one
go.
on deck. Man, I mean, no pressure or anything. I didn't know this
No.
was coming.
Look at that.
I was born in a galaxy far from. No, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. Now I'm originally from I feel like I'm on the dating game or something like that.
Yeah.
Originally from born and raised in Philadelphia. I mean, get past all that stupid stuff growing up and everything. Met Chris in 2000, right?
wow.
Yeah, it was 2000.
Yeah.
When this is like, I'm stealing this story from Chris because I interviewed him. I was co-managing a Suncoast Video in the King of Prussia Mall.
Nice.
And we were hiring. Was it for Christmas? Was it like Christmas help at first, or were we just hiring?
No, I don't think I was seasonal. I think we were just hiring.
So we were hiring, and I smoked back then. So I said to him, let's go outside to the front of the mall. I'm going to smoke a cigarette as I interview you. So we went to the front of the mall. I lit the cigarette, and I turned to him. This will be recreated in the movie. And I turned to him and I said, "Do you like Star Wars?" And and what did you say, Chris? You were like, "I knew this was the job."
Yeah.
I knew this.
The moment he said that, I was like, A, I've got this job. B, this is going to be awesome if that's his first question.
Yep. So that's how we met and worked. I mean, it's funny because we worked together, and I think we talked about this on the show. We probably worked together for like a year, maybe.
About a year, yeah. That's
it. In a good way, it felt longer because even when we stopped working together, I mean, we kept in touch on social media and stuff like
Yep.
that. And I watched. I was like Palpatine. I watched Chris's career from far away and admired him. I watched his career with great interest until I finally was hinting around that I wanted to. And again, as I said on our show, I was a middle-aged geek who wanted to talk about movies and stuff. So of course I had to have a podcast, just like every other
Yes.
40-something or 50-something-year-old geek. And Chris was he was kind enough to take me under his wing, and that is now we now have the Nice Guys podcast. It's almost a year, right? Like September, I think
About
it'll
that.
be a year,
About
something
that,
like
yeah.
that. And yeah, so it's been an awesome time, especially this last year, and I've got to meet like people I've seen online and seen on social media, and now I get to like be on their show and just talk about the stuff that I talk about with my friends, and meet new friends and talk about it with them too. So yeah,
Well,
it's been pretty awesome.
I'm glad you're here tonight. I'm glad you're here to keep the conversation going. We're going to get into some cool stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about Indiana Jones, but not the plot. If you haven't seen it yet, don't worry. We won't talk spoilers. We do talk spoilers about the shows when they're on during the Disney Plus time, but we're going to give people a little bit of time. Some people, in fact, I think that's why Nick isn't with us tonight. I think he's out going to see Indy tonight. So we won't talk spoilers, but we do want to talk a little bit about Indy box office. And then we also definitely want to get to your favorite droids. We're going to go through that tonight. But before that, we're going to take our first break, and we'll be back in just a minute with more Force Connect. And we are back. We are talking about droids. We're talking about Indiana Jones. We're going to talk about, I don't know, more Magnum PI. Maybe we could do a little research on the next break and find out the plot line of the Murder, She Wrote Magnum.
It helps
crossover.
me with my research for my Magnum PI podcast.
Yeah.
Starting soon.
Magnum, She Wrote. That's it.
There you go.
And I'm looking at you guys and I'm thinking the main reason Chris got the job, sure, the Star Wars connection was there, but it's the hat.
Yes.
You guys wear the same hats and you're good to go.
I haven't started wearing these hats until like late. No, in the 20 teens, like somewhere in the 2012, 2013. So I started wearing these things. Yeah,
that's because we're stylish.
Old man, yeah, that's when I started, embrace the oldness. And I'm old.
You and I, we can work it.
This is my thing. Well, one of the things that we did talk about, and we've posted on social media, and if you're a streaming SSW Network patron, we've decided that once a month we're going to give away a pop. On the last episode, and not just because I have a lot. Actually, I went out and bought one. So this open one is mine because it's my favorite. It's my favorite one of the Return of the Jedi line because I love the fact that this little what's his name? It's Brett Hupp is literally like banging on the helmets. And so we have a brand new one sealed in box, which is going to go to one of our patrons. All you got to do is go to the SSWnetwork.com and click join SSWN, or you can go to patreon.com/ the SSW Network, and you can become a patron. Again, $3 a month. You can win a pop. You're going to get stickers. You're going to get swag. You're going to get to hang out with us when we do our celebrity interviews. And but let me give away this pop. This is the first time we're doing this. So we have all of our patrons on a wheel, and what we're going to do is we are going to bring that wheel up, and we are going to spin it. and let's see who wins this. Again, my favorite pop of the Return of the Jedi line, and it's an exclusive from GameStop. So here we go. Let's see.
Nice.
Here we go. Spinning, 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 and it goes to Fanboy Cantina wins it. There he goes. All right. That is our first winner. Fanboy, I will I'll make sure that we have your address in the Patreon. Not everybody has given us their address, and if you haven't, I will make sure to get it from you. So Fanboy Cantina wins the first one. That's great. Fanboy was, I have to say, like, there are some weird little celebrity moments, if you will, micro celebrity moments. One is, being reached out to from Cameo for some reason, and another was Nick and I were walking through at Star Wars Celebration, and this guy stops us as we're walking in, and he's like, "Pete, Nick." I was like, "Oh my god!" It was so cool that it was the only and first recognition, which was really cool. And he's just a great guy. In fact, I stopped in on his show this past weekend. He was talking. They were talking about the show that you guys haven't yet started watching, which is the Secret Invasion show. Pretty interesting, but he does a great show. Make sure to check him out. But so let's talk about that. You guys, we were talking before we got started that that you guys hadn't watched Secret Invasion.
No, I have.
Oh, you have? Okay, Mick,
I
you
haven't.
haven't.
Yeah, I haven't watched
Okay. But we also want to make sure, or I also want to talk a little bit about Indiana Jones. And again, we're not going to go into the plot. If you enjoyed the movie, if you didn't enjoy the movie, that's great. We're not going there. We're not going to talk about the plot points. What I want to talk about is the receptivity of it, how it will do. And listen, I am, as you all know, I am a shill.
Yes.
I am hopeful that this movie kicks ass and does incredible numbers. But I also
Stop towing the line.
But I have to say, last night we were in the theater. There were maybe 25 to 30 people there. When we used to go on the Thursday night opening for, one of the Avengers movies or something, it was jam packed. And when you pre-ordered your tickets, you had to settle for some crappy seat on the left or something. But we got right in the middle, exactly where we wanted to be. There were 30 people there. Let me throw it to you guys to start. How do you guys think the movie's going to do? I mean, it was the most expensive Indiana Jones movie ever created. It was $275 million, I think, to create it. What do you guys think? How do you think it's going to do?
Want to take it, Mick?
Yeah, and again, we were talking about this before. It's funny that you were mentioning that because I can remember, and I'll give you the example of Avengers Endgame. And I remember, like, I mean, it was, I think, the night before on, Facebook, Twitter, online, it was telling you, like, when tickets were going to go on sale exactly. Yep. So you knew, and I can remember, or even going back to all the sequels.
Yep.
And, seeing Regal or Fandango, sorry, something's broke, because like Star Wars would literally bring down Fandango because everybody was trying to get it.
Oh man, Phantom Menace or the Force Awakens, I couldn't get my ticket for hours, and
I beat the ever-loving crap out of the refresh button.
I thought you were gonna say, like, you went to an actual, like, operator and beat the ever-loving crap, and then, like, manually put your name in to get a ticket.
Not for that thing.
But the last couple big tentpole movies, I mean, I've been right in the middle, right at the seat that I want to get. There's not that many people in there on a Thursday or a Friday night.
Yep.
And I'm still one of those holdout old school geeks who wants to go and see it on a Thursday, because I used to enjoy that the theater experience of being in that theater with all the other people who are excited to see that movie on opening night and want to clap at the right points and laugh at the right parts. Yeah. And now, we're talking about Indy. I went last night also. There was maybe like 15 to 20 people in the theater.
Yeah.
Damn.
And I don't know about you, like you made a great point about like wanting to have that communal experience. Even with the 30 max people that were in there with us, like they weren't even laughing at the appropriate points. They weren't cheering as like when you used to go to these big movies. That's an interesting point. Yep.
Because that was always the best. I'm sorry, Chris, I'm cutting you off.
No, go ahead.
That was the best part, like going with a bunch of friends and not to sit there and talk but to like you said, to laugh. One of my greatest memories is going to see Phantom Menace, and then years later going to see the sequel trilogy with my brother, and just elbowing him as like parts, stuff's going on, and we're just elbowing each other or like grabbing each other's arms, in excitement, because this is the stuff we grew up with, and it's like to see it, and now I take my son because that's what I want to share with him. I took him to see Indy last night. I took him to see The Flash opening night. I go with my dad and take him because he took me to all these things. And it just feels like, and we can get into it, I don't know if it's audiences' tastes are changing. I don't know if it's because of COVID and now we're feeling the after effects and streaming. Go ahead, Chris.
It's the times, man. Like things have evolved. Yeah, since COVID. Like I said before, I just wait for streaming. Me, A, I don't feel like being around a whole bunch of people. B, because people, they run their mouths sometimes like way too much. Like, laughing and cheering at the right spots, absolutely. Having a conversation behind me, that.
Dude, when I saw Spider-Verse, there was
your newborn.
Yeah, when I saw Spider-Verse, there was a family that had like their 3-year-old and a phone watching the Mario movie.
Yeah,
with headphones on and like in the same row. Chris, I was gonna say, you saw me in Anaheim with the old man in the drink. I almost old man in the drink them. I almost went over and was like, "I'm sorry, but
Mick, you don't understand." Mick, you don't understand. Like that was
waited an hour for those drinks.
I know, but I'm just like, they're handling our food. I just want to be as nice as possible. Please don't shit in my burger.
It's funny you're saying that though. I always remember though going to see The Dark Knight, opening night, midnight, and a kid in the back row. I'm like, why are you like a baby in the back row? And then the part in the beginning when he comes back and he takes off his shirt and you see the scars on his back, and just somebody standing up going, "Dude has got some battle scars," and I was like, "Yes, he does. He does."
Yeah.
Why to see The Dark Knight? Like, come on.
Yeah, no. Yeah, that's
it'll be out on DVD in 8 months.
Not to go off topic, not to go off the rails, but there was a. Why don't we go see Django Unchained? There was a family there with like their newborn or their 1 or 2 year olds, and I was like, "What are you doing?" And it's 10 o'clock, not a.m. I'm like, "What are you doing? What? Anyway?" But yeah, man, that's just it. Times are changing, and we as a society, I'll just just for America, things are a hell of a lot different. Mass shootings and whatnot. People don't want to go out. And when the last movie I went to was The Flash because I had Roke and I had free tickets because comic book store, yada yada yada. The last movie I went to go see in the theater before that was Rise of Skywalker.
Wow,
yeah, that's a lot of people too. A lot of people said that.
And like one of the positives from the pandemic was streaming these new movies, like watching Mortal Kombat and Dune and all that stuff. I was like, that works for me. That works for me. I don't need to go to a theater to go see this stuff. And the pandemic and whatnot just kind of solidified how I'd rather view movies.
And that's I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. That's another thing too. Everybody now has a TV that's 65, 75, 85, and most, you know what I mean? Right. Most people. You got 4K. Nerds like us have 4K. We know to have like a good sound system. Mm-hmm. I'm old. I have 2 kids. My son is getting older now. He's 12. So it's easier to, in the summer, to say like, I'm going to take him to go see a movie because he doesn't have school the next day. But I went through a couple years there where it's like I have friends who like movies and are single, and they're like, "Oh, let's go on a Wednesday at 10 o'clock." I'm like, dude,
10 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm like, I got kids to put to bed, and I gotta wake up for like work tomorrow, man. I'm like,
I can't do that. My shoes are already off. What do you want from me?
I'm already in my PJs. I have like the little hat with the ball in the end.
What do you want from me? I'm tired.
Bob Cratchit around my bed.
Yeah. And the other thing that someone in the chat, the creator, that put that movies are just so expensive right now. And I'm not going to pay $40 plus to see a movie I might hate when I could stay at home, on the couch and watch something I love and enjoy. Absolutely.
So that's exactly, so everything you guys are saying is right in line with a lot of what I'm thinking too, as it relates. I think the biggest undercut that the movies are doing to themselves is going to streaming so quickly. So it was my belief during the Dune, when Dune came out on HBO Max, back when it was HBO, or maybe it's just HBO at that time. I don't know. It was before it was Max. But it was one of those situations where I went to go see it in the theaters. I was like, this is a movie that needs to be seen in the theater. I went to go see it, and then I watched it again at home, and I didn't enjoy it as much on the small screen. Not that it was small, 65-inch, but it wasn't the big screen. But the problem is now we are conditioned. Like, so The Flash is a great example. I'm curious to see it. I don't really want to pay for Ezra Miller, right? I don't really want.
Yeah, I understand that, but it was dope.
But I know before the end of the summer, The Flash is going to be on Max. It's going to be there for me. So what is the rush?
July 18th.
Okay, right.
Really?
July 18th. Yeah,
it's going to be not on Max, but it's already going to be on streaming platform.
So if I really want to see it, I don't have to wait as long as I used to. To your point before, when you're saying it'll be out in 8 months, that felt like forever. And so now it's really interesting. My 10-year-old son, we went to go see. We still see a lot of movies, my son and I, because it's a good way to kind of just get out of that. It's a thing to do, so it's kind of fun. But to the point that was made there, for me, my daughter, and my son last night to go see Indiana Jones, tickets were over $60.
Damn.
We spent $60 on, popcorn and drinks and candy and shit, and there's $120.
Wait till winter. Just bring a coat.
I spent $120 for 3 people to see the Dial of Destiny.
Yeah.
That's frightening. That doesn't make a lot of sense, and not everybody can do that. I can't do that. I don't know how. So you're not going to. So what this means, though, is now you're spending $275 million to make a movie that is going to. It's going to do 140 globally this weekend. They say.
Let's see.
Which, and because of the fact that it comes out so quickly, look, on streaming, I would probably have normally gone back to go see this movie again, probably in a couple weeks. I probably won't now. I'll probably wait till it's streaming, and that's going to hurt these numbers, because that means it's a failure.
That brings up a point too, though. Like you're saying, like, okay, it's going to make 140, international and everything.
Yep.
Now, in this day and age, we know all those numbers. We know how much it costs for the movie to be made with marketing.
Yep.
We know how much it makes domestically. We know how much it makes internationally. So we know how much it has to make to break even.
Yep.
Back years ago, we weren't worried about that. And there's also the wasteland of Twitter, where it's like everybody's on there, and the discourse is that people pick their sides, and so if a movie doesn't do well, they're going to rejoice, while the people who are the fans of it are going to have something to say. Whereas 20 years ago, it was just, I want to go and I want to have fun and watch a movie. Now it's, I want to go and watch the movie, but I've already heard for the past 5 months on Twitter that it's going to be terrible, and the Rotten Tomatoes score is horrible. And what's the audience score? Okay, I went and saw the movie. Now I got to check on Sunday night or Saturday night and see what it's going to make this weekend. And is it a bomb? Before it was just, I want to go see the movie. I liked it.
But
all right, cool.
So Mick, let me throw this at you though, because the reality is, and I have to try to remind myself this when we get into the Star Wars conversations that are so negative. And remember that
on
the internet?
It's weird.
No way.
It's weird.
Really?
But the
Not on
three
the
of
internet,
us,
sir.
the three of us, and the people watching this show and listening to the show, we are sort of an exception to the rule in how we take part in our media. Most people probably, I think a lot of people still go to Rotten Tomatoes and be like, oh, okay, it's not scoring well, whatever. Yeah. But again, it's very difficult to make the case to go to a movie when never mind what's going on with the conversation on social media or what the critics are saying. It's tough to make a case to bring a family to the movie now, especially if you're also spending $15 a month for Disney Plus and $15 a month for Max and Hulu and Amazon. You have so many options at home. But again, so the thing that I'm still trying to get my arms around, and as much as I know about the industry, I don't know enough to know, how do these things become profitable? Like, how do they make it so that, Rings of Power, how much money did they spend on that for Amazon?
But $100 million?
Yeah, something like that. And I'm sure Amazon, Amazon's a weird one because they're already making $99 a year from everybody because they want the free shipping. But how do those models work, and how do you know what success is? Because honestly, I think Solo, for example, did not do great at the box office. It was the first Star Wars movie to not do exceptionally well at the box office.
What did
And
it only do? Like 300 million?
right, exactly. Well, that's where I'm going with this. How do we know then what? And honestly, should we even care if it's successful or not? But will this be the death of? And we didn't even get into it. And we probably won't have time tonight. But to get into this kind of a movie, right? Like, why did Spider-Verse work well? Why did Guardians of the Galaxy work well? Why did Wakanda Forever fail? Why did Ant-Man fail? What is that magic thing? And I think Indy, I feel like, and we'll talk about this for a minute, then we'll go to the break. But I feel like Indy is just sort of like at the tail end of new viewers. I think it's going to be a lot of people like me who bring my family.
Yeah.
Who I've raised my son on. My son,
Yeah.
I think, probably likes the indie movies better than the Star Wars movies. Not the Star Wars stories, but the indie movies better than the Star Wars movies. He wanted to go. He's been begging for months to go. He doesn't want to go again. If I said, "Hey, you want to go see the movie again tomorrow?" No.
Yeah.
And but what are the movies that are going to work? And I guess they really. I think there's just so much. There's a glut of stuff out there. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Here's what I think they should do going forward. And I know that like when this happened with Disney Plus, back during the pandemic era, or maybe that was earlier, and people were upset that they were doing this. But I was like, what's the problem? That Mulan movie that came out.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And they, there were, I think, was it the option of going to the theater or paying, $30-$40, yada yada yada, and watching it on Disney Plus. I was like, that's a good plan. I like that. I understand that you have to pay for the movie, and Lord knows how many people are going to be watching it with you at home or whatever.
Yeah,
that's still like a much discounted ticket price if you think about it that way. I am for that, and I think that should be a thing going, going forward.
Yep. I think it's too. I think I said it during pandemic that I think we're going to get back to a point where going to a movie is going to be a big deal, right? When movies first came out, 70 years ago, whatever it was like, hey, we're going to the theater, we're going to see a movie, and it was an event. With the prices that they are now, it is an event, but I feel like the content that you're paying that premium for is not worth it. Like, I can't, again, as curious as I was about the Flash movie, and as much as I want to see Michael Keaton as Batman again, I'm not spending $100 to take me and my son to go and see it. I'm just not going to do it.
And it comes down to too. It might be, and it's we were talking about this before the show started too. It might be oversaturation. This is the future we all wanted when we were kids. I wanted a Justice League. I wanted a Justice League movie. I wanted an Avengers movie. I wanted, movies for all the superheroes that I read in comics. And now we got it, and it has been awesome. But you know what? It's as I was saying, we have so much now that I can pick and choose whatever I want to, just like when I read comics. If I don't want to read the Fantastic Four, I don't read it. I read Spider-Man.
Right.
And if they cross over, I'll figure it out. And if I don't want to watch Secret Invasion, I won't watch it. If I don't want to watch Guardians of the Galaxy, I won't watch it. But then I'll go watch Spider-Man. I'll go watch, and even the Spider-Man movies from 2002 when the first one came out, and that was a big spectacle because it was the first Spider-Man movie. We're now in our third iteration of Spider-Man, plus we have the Spider-Verse. We're now in our fifth or sixth iteration of Batman with another one coming, and another Superman. It's not that I'm not excited about it, but it just becomes less and less special as it gets more and more watered down. And audiences already are like, with streaming and with everything else, they're like, I'll catch it on streaming. I don't need to see it. I've already seen 3 other Spider-Mans. I don't need to see this new one.
Well, to bring it back to Star Wars, a lot of people love to throw shade at Kathleen Kennedy for not having 2 Star Wars movies a year.
When are they throwing shade at this woman? When did this happen?
What does she know? I mean, it's not like she's been successful for almost 50 years. I mean, come on.
But at the end of the day, perhaps we're better off not getting all these Star Wars movies, because honestly, that's the problem with, I think, as you were just referencing there, Mick, like, it was great when it was 1 or 2 major movies a year, and now it's a major movie. Once you hit March, it's 6 months of major movies. So I know you'll take all the Star Wars at all times, Chris. I get that. But hey, speaking of Star Wars, I'm going to pull us back. I'm going to put us into our next break, and when we come back, we're going to talk totally different topic. We want to talk about our favorite droids, our favorite robotic friends from the Star Wars universe, dig into those a little bit, and then we're going to start taking your calls to hear what your thoughts are on who the best of the best droids are. But we'll be back in 1 minute with more streaming SSW Network Force Connect.
Little known lore that came out around, I would say, 1985 about this poet droid who wrote this poem about the plight of droids in a galaxy full of organics. I'm not sure in the timeline where this is at. If I had to guess, I would say during the reign of the Empire. But this droid had something very poignant, very powerful to say. Give us your thoughts on this unknown droid's poem in the comments. Without further ado. Stepping softly in a danger zone. No weapon in my hand. It's just this brain designed by man, and it's got me in trouble again. In trouble again. I put my life in jeopardy in the service of my friends. I wouldn't care, but it's a dangerous affair, because I'm in trouble again. In trouble again. In trouble, in trouble, in trouble.
Star Wars poetry reading here.
I didn't realize that I channeled some William Shatner when I was doing that. I didn't, in the service of my friends. I wouldn't care, but it's a dangerous affair.
You need to channel him sometimes when talking to Star Wars fans and say, "Get a life, people." I mean, come on.
Have you even kissed a girl?
Kissed a girl. Oh, John Lovett's just.
Oh my god. Well, so speaking of droids, speaking of Star Wars, which is what we do here, greatest droids of all time. Star Wars is a world that, So first of all, when I've been doing Around the Galaxy for the last 4 years, one of the questions that we ask a lot is, who is your favorite droid? And sometimes I stumble on is it a who or a what? Let me just start that with you guys. Are droids who's or are they what's?
I always thought of them as who.
They're kind of
who
who's,
to
right?
me.
They
Yeah,
have
who to me.
too much personality.
Yeah. Yep. And I think it's kind of cool that ever since L3, speaking of Indiana Jones, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, ever since L3, we've all sort of been like, yeah, you know what? Why are they expendable? Because they're like pets and whatnot. So, but we wanted to talk about, and we're going to throw the link in the chat in just a minute, but we want to talk about our Mount Rushmore of Star Wars droids. They've been a part of it since the very beginning. My very first memories of Star Wars are seeing a picture of C-3PO and R2-D2. Interestingly, I just saw, as Steven Stanton, he posted up today or yesterday, maybe it was, the original trailer for Star Wars, which we've all seen it, in one form or another over 100 years. The droids don't appear in that at all. And I only noticed it because I was thinking about our show. You only see, X-Wing fights. In fact, the first shot of the trailer is the medal ceremony, which is quite funny.
Spoilers.
So, it was the 70s. Nobody paid attention to trailers. So let me start. We'll each give our top four, but we'll round robin it, and we'll start with number 4. And I'm going to start with well, why don't we start with our guest, Mick? Who is your number 4 on your Mount Rushmore of droids? And you can't just give a name. I want to hear why you think this.
Can I give a special mention to one that I used to think was a droid but isn't? Because if Lobot actually was a droid,
about this.
he's not. I know, but he's not.
But look. There's a comic series about to come out called Dark Droids, written by Charles Soule.
I researched this. For half this week, I researched it. And it said he wasn't a droid, and I was mad because I had so much stuff. This would have been a 4-hour show if I could have talked about my number 1 Lobot. I love Lobot, so he was my special mention.
Okay.
Nice. I don't know why I've always loved Lobot. It's probably because I have no hair.
That's funny.
But my number 4, there was like so many obvious. You could always go the obvious ones. But my number 4 was EV99.
Ah, yes.
Nice.
No nonsense.
And I was gonna say that is, like just the you gotta love that attitude in just like you said, no nonsense. I love,
Yeah.
and when you told me about this, I was trying to think because, like I just said, I mean, everybody can say. I'm not gonna say the names because people might say it, and I might bring them up, but. Again, and talking about my brother earlier, I was trying to think of like characters in Star Wars that, when you're a Star Wars fan, it's not always about the main characters. It's always about like the tertiary characters, the characters that the normies out there, they'd be like, who? What are you talking about? And when you talk to people like you guys, you're like, yes. So I have always, and I didn't know it was a she when actually I was
What?
it's supposed to be a she. It says it's a
Ah, that makes sense.
EV99 is
The
a
voice,
she.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, when I read that, I was like, okay, I can kind of see it. But yeah, just like the no nonsense, the attitude.
Yeah.
That is my number 4.
You are a protocol droid, are you not? That's what I always remember.
Just you gotta love it. I think when I was a kid and I saw that, it just scared me. I went to Catholic school. It probably reminded me of the nun. It probably reminded me of the nuns that I was in school with.
She was just doing. She was interviewing. Who was it? Our 3PO interviewing 3PO.
Yes.
While that other protocol droid is getting tortured right beside her.
Yeah.
And thanks to the comics, thanks to Mark Guggenheim, we have that story of what that droid did to get himself in that situation. It's a one shot for Jabba the Hutt, comic book. Go pick it up.
Chris, who's your number 4?
My number 4 is all right. So like it's my whole list is mirrored Astromech protocol. So my number 4 is going to be BT1. BT1 is a Tarkin Initiative Astromech droid that is souped up to the gills with weapons and whatnot. He's one of these homicidal droids.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? For my number 4, I'm putting the duo. I don't care. I'm making up the rules as I go. So number 4 is 000 MBT and BTO.
Yeah.
These two homicidal droids, and they are the antithesis of R2 and 3PO. And they're the droids that I kind of want to hang out with, but I don't because I'm pretty sure they're going to find a way to flay me and disembowel me and all that stuff. But
yeah, they will lose patience with you in a moment. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Wait, what do you mean?
No, not you. I mean anybody. I feel like 000 is just like looking for any reason to kill anybody.
Not you.
Oh, yeah, 000 is like, yeah, can I kill him now? And then, like, he bleep bloops, but it's 000 is the one that's like ready to kill all the time.
Nice.
Like, can I kill this one now? Is it all right for me to kill this one? He's that sort of one. Yeah,
he's the
so
future
those
of AI,
ones,
which is nice.
Read the Dr. Aphra comics, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, my number 4, I went sequel trilogy, and I went with BB-8. And the reason for that is I remember reading all the rumors that we all read online coming up to Force Awakens, and somebody had described this little ball droid, and I was like, that sounds so horrible. That just doesn't sound like it's going to work. And the reason he works for me is because he ushered in the Disney era in the Force Awakens trailer, just zipping across the screen there at top speed across Jakku, and he had personality. And when he did the Puss in Boots eye to Rey, which made her decide not to sell him for 64 portions, that worked for me. And he has the person. He's the personality of the sequel trilogies.
He's the gateway drug to the newer fans, I think.
He absolutely
honesty,
is.
He's the gateway. That's for the sequel trilogy, especially Force Awakens. That was like the image you saw everywhere.
Yep.
And I mean, my son was that 8 years ago? I mean, he was 4, and that's what he was immediately drawn to. And even my daughter, who's not really into Star Wars, she knows who BB-8 is and thinks he's cute. So. That's it's and gateway drug.
When I took my son to Galaxy's Edge and he went to Droid Depot, he could build any droid. He built a BB-8 style droid. So
nice.
It worked. All right, Mick, who's your number 3?
My number 3 is the Gonk droids.
Nice.
And
Right.
just because, I mean, we've all seen the, empire building documentary, or the, all the behind the scenes documentaries about Star
Yep.
Wars. We've seen all the ILM people. I love 70s, especially late 70s, that aesthetic of like the now in their 30s hippies who are still trying to live that lifestyle. And that was like all the ILM people. So basically, I think the Gonk droids are just the personification of just the the attitude of most of like the guys who like had fun in the 60s, and then by like the 70s and into the late 70s we're still trying to live that 60s life, but
Yep.
we're, it's a different time. And when just, you gotta love the guy again. It's another character that is, to the general audience, they don't care, but it always gives me, my brother, and most fans a smile when you see a Gonk droid show up. And it's one of the first toys I remember playing with. It must have been, I call them grandmom toys, because it was always like, if you went to the store, you were picking Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader, Han Solo. But if grandmom was left to her own devices and was going to pick you up a Star Wars toy at Kitty City or Toys R Us, you were getting like a Gonk droid, you were getting Bib Fortuna.
Twin
I think I
Pine.
had like 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you had to be like, thanks.
That's a great. That's
Or
awesome.
my mom would be like, tell grandma thank you, and I'd be like, thanks, great, I didn't want this. So I remember playing with a Gonk droid when I was a kid. I remember that was one of the first Star Wars toys I can remember playing with. So I've always had a soft spot for the Gonk droids.
That's
So
a
that
good
is my
call.
number 3.
That's awesome. Chris, who's your number 3?
My number 3 is a droid who really needs some counseling, and that would be Chopper from Rebels.
Oh, nice
He
call.
absolutely
Good one.
is. He is a great team member. He is so full of attitude. And he's and he's very loyal to Hera at the same time. He's loyal to his crew in his own messed up way. He's very loyal to the Ghost crew. But like there was one touching moment, and I can't watch these particular 2 episodes anymore. And it's the episode where Kanan dies, and it's the episode afterward when they're dealing with his death. Can't watch it anymore. But while Hera is grieving, and she's grieving hard, like Chopper nuzzles up next to her and like holds her hand, with one of his his mandible thing, one of his claws, whatever they call it, pincers. But so he consoles her. So like I love how they showed that much like depth with that droid, and then to find out in the last episode that he's voiced by Dave Filoni, I thought was
that was awesome. That was great. My number 3, and I love Chopper, and I'm so excited to see him come to life in for real. I mean, we saw him a little in Rogue One, but I'm looking forward to seeing him playing a part. And dude, when he rolled out on stage at Celebration, how awesome was that? That was that's fantastic. But speaking of Rogue One, my number 3 is sometimes my number 1, but based on sort of a Mount Rushmore approach, my number 3 is K2SO. He is he's, to me, one of the ones that I probably quote more than anybody else. The answer is vague and unconvincing is something I love to say on a regular basis. I love that he's, I think, as far as we know, one of the only droids that actually improvised, did some improv on set and created one of the best moments in Rogue One when he slaps Cassian in the face and says, and there's another one where that came from. There's a fresh one where that came from. And he's full of, he really, I don't know, there's just something about the way Tudyk delivers his lines, the way he is sarcastic and obnoxious, and everything that I love everything about just the way he's presented. And again, similar to BB-8, when I saw pictures in I guess it was Entertainment Weekly or something, of K2SO, I thought that's a pretty lazy design for a droid. I was like, big circle eyes, small head, big, but it works, and it works so well. And it was great to see the K2 droid come back in Andor as a menacing, Imperial sort of bodyguard. It was just
Yeah.
it was very cool to see that. So he's my number 3. He could be my number 1, but for today, he's number 3. So Mick, who's your number 2?
Okay. Again, like I said, when I was thinking about this and researching this and trying to get my list, I didn't want to go too obvious. So for my number 2, I had to go with E3PO, not C3PO.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
E3PO.
Is that the Ichuta? Is that that one?
Exactly.
Nice.
And
Potty
again,
mouth.
because because I cannot tell you how many years, and this will continue for years going by, that my brother and I will just greet each other, and one of us will say "Ichute," and the other one will say "How rude." But also watching that movie, I can remember being amazed that, and I know that earlier, like on Hoth, I think you see another 3PO unit, but like I was amazed, like, oh my god, there's like another like C3PO looking droid.
Yeah.
And again, this was, before expanded universe, before we could find out about all this kind of stuff. So I was like, how is there like another droid that looks like C3PO? Why is he so mean?
Yeah.
Why is he being mean like that?
That's one of the cool things about him. Yeah, he what like C3PO is, and this was like, dude, take a chill, like step back.
He was like he's like the he's like the dark other side of he's like C3PO after dark or something like that. But
that's TC-14.
But I can remember watching it. I was like, I want to know more about this. I want to know what this droid's doing. Like, what's going on with this guy? But again, it's just like I can like text my brother. And I have a lot of times just Ichuta, and I'll just get how rude out of nowhere. Like it'll just be in the middle of the day, just because I'm bored. So for that reason, it has to be my number 2 on my Mount Rushmore.
That's awesome. That's a good call.
Nice.
Chris, number 2 for you.
On the flip side of what Mick said, C3PO, for obvious nostalgia reasons, but it's a few others, and that is C3PO is my anxiety given a British accent. He is to me he's so terrified, but he's brave at the same time because he still goes through with everything that's happening. Like Battle of Endor, he didn't want to be there.
Yeah,
he did not want to be there for any of it, but he did his part and played the role and helped during the battle. And it's also it hurts to see him like in the sequel trilogy, when especially Rise of Skywalker, when that dude gets no love, especially from Poe.
Yeah,
especially from Poe, he gets no love. That poor dude, and then when he literally sacrifices himself, to lose his memory so that he can translate that Sith. The dagger,
the dagger,
and did that for them, and none of them, not even Finn, come on, none of them, like to thank them, and maybe to them, they're just appliances. They're just a toaster that talks and it walks around with us. Like who knows? But I
mean, that's in all honesty, what you're saying, he's like the audience surrogate, especially for the original trilogy. Yep. He's the audience surrogate. He's like I said in our check out the Nice Guys podcast. Like I said in our Return of the Jedi episode, I love when he's telling the story in the Ewok village. That's one of my favorite Star Wars moments, when he's telling the story of Star Wars.
Yeah.
And he is the audience surrogate. You're seeing it through. I mean, that especially like the original movie, like. Yeah. 3PO and R2 are like the audience surrogate. The adventure is going through them.
Yeah.
And I love 3PO. I know that there are some circles of fandom or whatever who are like, he's so annoying, or whenever you see these lists of favorite droids, I think 3PO is funny. I love him. I love 3PO.
So
I grew up with him too. So
I have 3PO's number 2 also, but I look at him when I interviewed Jason Fry. I've talked about this 100 times. Anybody's listened to my show knows it. I actually have to pull this clip up probably and put it out again on its own, because I was very early on in the podcast, and I had Jason on, and we were talking about he said, it was a pinch me moment for him when he was writing dialogue for a C-3PO, and he knew if it worked or not if he read it out loud in a C-3PO accent. That's how he could tell if it worked. But it was at that moment too that I asked him, who do you like better, R2 or 3PO? And he said, oh, R2, because 3PO is secretly a monster. And he said he's always looking out for himself. And I hadn't thought of it before until he brought out the points, and he's 100% right. He says one of his most favorite lines is when Luke finally shows up to Jabba's palace, what's the first thing 3PO says? Oh, Master Luke is here to rescue me. Right. He came back for him. He's
I think
the Falcon
also,
the Falcon hyperdrive is dying. They're being chased by Star Destroyers. He's like,
fix my leg.
Fix my leg.
That makes him the most human of droids. Also, we'd all be like that. We'd all be like, "Yo, fix me. I don't care about the stupid car. Fix me."
Yeah, but I think also, there's a reason why R2 knew what was going on, Lando knew what was going on, Leia knew what was going on, of course Luke knew what was going on, 3PO, Chewie knew what was going on, 3PO had no idea what was going on, and I'm pretty sure because of what happened there when he just said, "Oh, Master Luke's come to rescue me," it's he would have screwed the whole operation up.
He would have
from the moment he was tapping on the front door.
That's right. He was ready to turn around. Oh, nobody's here.
Like, time to go.
Yeah. Mick, who's your number one? Who's the number one on your Mount
Rushmore?
Rushmore?
Before you do that,
wait.
Before you do that, I'm pretty sure I know who all of our number ones are. So we might as well just all talk about it.
Okay, 3, 2, 1.
R2D2.
Right.
Can I honestly say I was gonna, and I know I'm a guest on the show, but I was gonna say my number one was R2 and 3PO together, just because like to me they're pretty. They go together.
Yeah.
I think even Lucas said it. I mean, they were written like, almost like an Abbott and Costello kind of.
Yeah, they were like
kind of act. I mean, eventually, or I mean, it was. Originally from the Hidden Fortress, the two. I mean, so
yeah. But there's a reason. There's a reason why. It should be separate.
I know. I'm saying personally for me, like I couldn't separate them. I mean, I love R2 and 3PO together. I mean, in the game,
oh, absolutely.
Like, as you said in your toast. I mean, I've been around since the beginning, so it's like always been R2 and 3PO, and those were some of the. Talking about the Gonk droids. I mean, R2 and 3PO, some of the first toys you have. That was the stuff that was. Like Pete said, I mean, they might not have been in the original trailer, but like when Star Wars exploded, like that was a lot of the images were R2 and 3PO. That was what to get the kids in when they had, I mean, they've been in like, stop smoking ads. They've been in vaccination ads, Underoos. They've been, they were the ones who got a cartoon with the Ewoks. And R2, I mean, we talked about 3PO. I mean, R2. Cartoon. It's got good music too. Nelvana animation. But I mean R2 is just, he's got the attitude, not as much as Chopper. R2 was the cool one. 3PO was the neurotic, and R2 was the cool one. He was the one you wanted to buddy around with. He was the one you wanted to fly around the Dagobah with.
Yeah. Throughout all the movies, they're, to me, like I talk about this with my older brother from time to time. And we're like, the two smartest characters in Star Wars are Palpatine
and R2.
And R2D2.
Yeah.
As much as Palpatine has doomed the galaxy, R2 has saved the galaxy.
R2 is there.
He does not get the respect. He's just magic trash can. He's just he doesn't get all the respect that he needs. That was an Aronnax reference. But like if you and then like my whole perception of him changed during that droid arc, the D Squad arc from Clone Wars.
Okay.
Where he listen, like everyone had their had their role to play as far as all these droids, and then the commander Gaspon or Captain Gaspon, whatever his name was, the tiny guy. R2 in this whole thing he was the action hero. He was literally Jason Statham of droids, or at least of astromech droids.
They both have the same hairstyle.
They do. One's got more range.
Yes, they do.
but yeah, like doing that whole thing and seeing him interact with those droids and have him, do all these action spots and whatnot, and he's got a kill count too, just like
Oh yeah.
all right, Chopper's got a ton of bodies. Okay, he's got piles of corpses behind him, but R2 has saved the galaxy so many times, and yes, he's got a pile of bodies too, but R2 is just he's just, to me, he's a cut above.
And R2, if you're saying, and I don't know if I agree with that totally or not, but if you're saying like 3PO is in it for himself, I think R2 is one of, if not the most emotional of the droids. I mean, I think of Empire when they go to close the doors when they can't find Han and Luke, and R2 just whistles sadly. I think R2 is one of the more emotional. He's the hard on the outside, soft on the inside droid. I think he tries to come off as as a tough guy, but R2 has the heart,
and he's got your back. I mean, let's go back to that Empire Strikes Back movie when they had to make their escape. No one asked him to do the whole ninja fog thing and mask, the shots from the stormtroopers, which weren't going to, hit anyway. But no one asked him to do that. That was him on his own, being that team player.
And he fixed the hyperdrive. He's also the friend you want to have. He was the guy who would always have the jumper cables when your car would break down back in high school or college. Like he's like that guy. He's always gonna he's always gonna be able to. And the best Yoda battle is Yoda versus R2 on Dagobah.
This is true.
And Anger Taste of Cakes, you're absolutely right. R2 and Chopper teaming up, and Rebels, I think they did, or at least they definitely crossed paths.
Well, they definitely crossed paths in that in the third episode of Rebels.
Yeah, they are going to team up when the D Squad comic hits, which is an offshoot of the Dark Droids saga that's happening. It comes out in September. Make sure you get that Star Wars comics.
Well, the last thing I'll say about the droids before we take a break and then take your calls is one of the things about R2 that's so important is if R2 didn't work as a character that was able to portray so much emotion when he's shot by the Jawas and that classic scream and thump, if he didn't work, Star Wars fails. Star Wars does not get past 1977.
Yeah.
So if you're thinking about from a Mount Rushmore perspective, he works, and that's why Star Wars works. And I'll die on that hill. But we want to hear who your favorite Star Wars droids are, as opposed to I don't think we need to hear who your favorite Battlestar Galactica droids are or Buck Rogers droids, but we want to hear your favorite Star Wars droids are. We want to hear your Mount Rushmore. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be taking your calls on the SSW Network's Force Connect live every Friday night. And we are back. We are taking your calls, talking about all things Star Wars droids tonight. Also, if you are watching right now, hit that like button for us. Share it on your social media channels. Let's get some more people hanging out with us. And also, make sure to think about becoming a patron. We gave away our first Patreon pop. We gave away this little guy, and our good friend Fanboy Cantina is our very first winner. So make sure to join us there, and you'll be able to be part of the live virtual audience when we do our interviews for Around the Galaxy. Well, we've given our 4. Well, we didn't put R4 on there, did we? We didn't. R5D4. Is there an R4? There's got to be an R4, right?
R4,
Yeah,
Obi-Wan's
Right.
droid.
Obi-Wan's. That's right. I knew it
Yeah,
sounded
man.
right. I knew it sounded. Yeah. Yeah. Is he the one that got picked apart by the
Yes. Oh dear.
R5D4 got like mad important way too late. Even though if it wasn't for him, the galaxy would have probably
galaxy
been doomed.
would have stayed under galactic.
if
tyranny.
you buy into those stories that are now canon.
Not
So just for the record, Nick,
stuff from the EU.
no,
But
yeah. So Nick sent in his and just so it's on record. IG-11 is one of his. K2SO, which of course is mine. R5D4, which we just were talking about. And his number one was, guess who? R2D2. So I think we're good there.
Shocker.
But
yes.
well, yeah, shocker. Yes.
Yes.
Why don't we bring in our very first caller and let's get somebody else's perspective on these four.
Keep your eyes open, huh?
My first
There he is.
favorites are BD1 and BB8.
Oh, what's that?
BD1 and BB8 are my favorite droids.
There you go. Oh, well, that was quick.
What about
don't worry.
BB-23?
Don't worry. I got something I can talk about.
Okay. Wait a second. Please start your clock. Well, let's hear it, brother. Here we go.
Okay. Anakin has Oedipus complex.
Okay.
His attachment to his mother, understandably because he was separated from her for 10 years.
Sure. Yeah.
Verges on very inappropriate. When you like look at the text of like how from one moment he's just like thinking about his dreams of Padme, and then he's thinking about his dreams of Padme, and then thinking about dreams of his mother and if she's safe, and then
Sure.
He compares possibly losing his wife in the next movie to being killed by Tusken Raiders, and I'm just like, And also we have Padme doing a lot of consoling of him when we find out he did a little bit of genocide in the second movie.
Right. Yes.
I'm just like, and also makes you think that Padme might be partially racist because she doesn't cry about Tusken Raider children, but she cries about human youngling children. But that's a discussion for another day.
Oh my goodness.
But I think that the sins of the father going to the son continues in the saga because when Luke finds out that who I argue basically becomes his pseudo mother figure in Leia, and how she consoles him after losing Ben,
Right.
and his attachment to her, that he has to cut off his hand, essentially castrating because, he fears for the protection of this female figure in his life that he feels such attachment to. So is the destruction of the father, and in the case of Anakin, his father figure was Obi-Wan Kenobi because, Mascara Satan, Darth Maul killed Qui-Gon Jinn. He couldn't have that good figure that would have been there and kept him away from turning to dark.
I think there's definitely something to the being separated from his mother at such an early age. I'll give you that for sure.
So BB-8 and who?
BD1.
I feel like this is
BD1.
when I
BD1's good.
audited that Russian literature class back in college.
Oh man.
And yes, Mascara Satan is the best name I have for Darth Maul.
I like that. That Mascara that goes really well because like when Corey Ryan Forrester was on the show, he was like, this guy literally looks like the devil. And yes, you're right. Mascara Satan is awesome. Well, Eric, thanks for joining us every week. Your streak is still alive, man.
That's right.
Continues to this day.
Zillow Gang.
Zillow Gang. Dude, I'll make enough shirts for that. Maybe you should make up shirts for Zillow Gang and I'll buy one. All right, man. Take care. I love it. It's a different take every week. What was that? Was last week the incest week? I can't remember if that was.
It's incest week here on.
it's right. Discovery of Shark Week with
Whoa.
Force Connect. No, we don't have incest week here on Force Connect.
When Wheel of Fortune got really wacky. It's incest week on Wheel of Fortune.
Oh my gosh! All right. Well, I think BD1's a good call though.
BD1's a good one. Yeah.
Let's get
At least
back.
he didn't say tweaky, but I guess it's fuck right.
BD.
Come on, that's awesome. Gotta love tweaky.
All right. Well, let's bring in our next caller before somebody gets hurt.
Oh, thank the force! Come here, you little womp rat!
Angry Tasty Cakes. You know I'm going to say it. You know I have to call you Gimlet.
Oh yeah.
After what you tweeted about today.
My
I can hopefully try to do the laugh tomorrow.
Tomorrow? You can't do it
Yeah.
tonight?
Oh no, I got Mickey Mouse on the brain today though.
Okay.
Wild time.
Well, I'm going to start your timer, and I want to hear your 4 droids.
So I'm going to start off obscure and say Goto.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm going to start off obscure with that and say Goto.
Where's Goto from? That's
KOTOR 2,
okay.
but he ran the most powerful criminal organization in the galaxy.
Yes.
Yeah. And my favorite quote is Pizak bores me. I often suspect that my opponent is cheating, so I prefer simpler games like Galactic Economics. I'm like, okay,
And
dude,
his voice was top shelf, dude. His voice was top shelf.
It was so good. Like, it was so
Yeah.
deadpan. Third one is going to be HK-47.
Okay.
I have to go with him just because of the impact that he had on the galaxy in those 50 years that he was around. Was like, well, no, because he's in SWTOR as well, so about 400 years, like, he still was making an impact. Hu Yong is going to be my second.
Yeah, I
Nice.
thought about bringing that one in. Yep.
Yeah, the fact that he helped Yoda create his lightsaber, I'm like, okay, that's on my book. And then, man, I don't think I have a number 1. No, that's not true. I'm probably gonna have to go IG-88.
Yeah,
I think, or Forlom. It's a tie between Forlom and IG-88.
Oh, I forgot about Forlom.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, him and Zuckus are like, bosom buddies. I love those two.
A Gand Wayfinder and a robot assassin protocol droid.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
So definitely Forlom and IG-88 are tied for first, I think. Yeah. I don't like C-3PO. I just don't like Anthony Daniels. It kind of reminds me that he smells his own farts sometimes. It's weird. I don't care for Anthony Daniels.
Literally, when he's in that outfit.
Yeah. You're a little.
The Golden LeMay
You're
suit?
like. Yeah. Terrible. Yeah.
Anthony Daniels is the only Star Wars celebrity that blocks me.
That's what I'm saying.
Damn, what did you do, Pete?
I honestly think it was when Jason Fry did the C-3PO as a monster and we created a little hashtag around it. I think because as Angry just pointed out, he loves Anthony Daniels very much, and he as himself, and I think he probably took it personally. He probably did not get the joke.
We're gonna get him a cameo from you.
I'll chip in. I want to see how
We
this
all should,
ends.
and we'll send it to Anthony Daniels.
I actually interviewed him, and I have a picture of him like holding an action figure that he signed for me, and he blocked me. It's
If
all
you
right.
do it, you have to
Yeah.
have the C-3PO cereal and just put it up to your face. And then
C-3POs,
Woo.
Excellent.
There was nothing more delicious and bland,
It's basically just.
but it was
Cheerios.
super delicious because it was Star Wars.
Yeah.
It was flavored in
It was
Star Wars.
It was a burst of
I
Star Wars
love-
right in your mouth.
Right in your mouth. And I loved it. Eat nothing better than a spoonful of Star Wars. Crunchy Star Wars. It's delicious.
Crunchy Star Warsy goodness.
It tastes like the 80s.
Yes, it did.
Tastes like every Saturday morning in 1986. Yes.
I actually did want to, and I know I'm going to keep this one brief, but I did want to say, like, based on the previous conversation, I think Star Wars is immune to that theater thing that we're kind of going through
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
The way
so.
like it was brought up before, like it's hard filling seats, but like Star Wars always fills.
Oh, yeah,
seats.
that'll be fine. That'll be fine.
Yeah.
Well, and I think because there's been such a gap now, I think that's going to
Yeah.
only help it. I
Mhm.
think,
Yep.
and as much as people are already trying to say I don't care about a Ray movie, that's bullshit. Because
Stop.
You'll be there.
the people who
Stop.
don't care about a Ray movie,
They're gonna be first in line.
they will be first in line, and the
They'll
people
be
who
in their
They're going to have to bitch about something.
They'll be in
Click,
their
click,
seats
click,
tweeting
click,
that they're
click,
not
click.
going to go.
right.
Yeah.
Well, but you know who's going to want to see that is my son, who also wanted to see Indiana Jones, plus all the other generic Star Wars fans and the people who've been there for forever and the new fans.
Yeah.
I think the Ray movie is a fantastic idea. I love that they're going there.
Yeah.
People tried to overreact to Kathleen Kennedy. Surprisingly,
Doing
I know
anything.
that's an ongoing theme, but when she
Breaking
inadvertently
news,
used
she's
the
being
word,
fired.
yeah, she's been fired. Look, there it is. Yep. Yep.
That's like
again,
the 5th time
again.
she's been fired this week.
Yeah. Right. Shout
But
out
she
to Melvin.
inadvertently used the word reboot when she talked about what they're going with this, and of course people jumped all over that. But that's not what she means at all. But she means moving it forward, and I
Yeah.
think that's why the sequels did face some backlash, is because they didn't move it as far forward as they needed to get away from Luke and Han and Leia and Lando and those guys. And I think it's a great opportunity because the fact that how many years will it have been? If it comes out in 25, that's 6
8.
years.
8. No,
It's 6 years since
6 years. Yeah, 2019
yeah.
for Rise. Yeah.
Which is a good
But, like-
amount of time. And
Like
all the
you're
people.
saying, your son wants to go. My son is going to want to go because now
Yep.
it's another generation. And if anything, that's
Right.
what the sequels did. Just like we were the original Star Wars generation, there is a prequel generation, there is a sequel generation, and that is how Star Wars will keep on going.
Yep.
Because no matter what, I mean, you were saying there's a backlash. What people forget is Force Awakens and Last Jedi both, if it matters, got really good reviews and were huge, humongous hits.
Yep.
So, sometimes Twitter isn't the real world.
No.
So, the general audience will always be there for
Sometimes.
Star
My life's
Wars.
like a lie.
I'm living in a lie. Well. All right. Well, Angry, thanks so much for joining us tonight. Keeping that streak alive. Keeping that. I'm serious, man. I'm gonna go back and pull up the beard. We're gonna do a before and after because it's.
I have one request on that.
Yes.
Have Nick put it together as a Charlie Day conspiracy board. All I ask.
we can definitely do that. Well, thanks, man. We'll talk to you again next week, hopefully.
All right,
right,
I'll be
man.
here.
Okay. See ya. Well, gentlemen, we have made it through another week of Star Wars, another week of Force Gate. Not a lot of news, which is kind of good. I think it's kind of
Yeah.
good when it's
Yeah,
quiet.
That's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Let's
Don't
keep it
jinx
quiet.
it. Stop, something just happened. Something just happened.
Yep, let me go check Twitter. I'm sure the world is angry at something.
I think Kathleen
Yeah.
Kennedy got fired again.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, she did. She did. And look, I'm going to get shit for this, but I'm going to say it. A lot of people who keep saying that George they're saying it because it's stupid.
Oh
But
wait,
there's-
let me guess. He's gonna buy back.
Right. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, he's sold
Or-
because he doesn't want to deal with any of this crap anymore.
Correct.
Like
Plus,
Mick, I didn't send. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pete.
no, go ahead. Go ahead.
Like Mick, I didn't send this video to you yesterday, but I sent it to Pete and Nick. And the one I'm talking about. I think it was either the prequels, like how to watch
Yeah.
the
Yep.
prequels, and there's one for the special edition as well. And I forget this YouTuber's name, but if you type in like how to watch Star Wars series, you'll find part 1 and part 2. This is the most extensive. Looks at the prequels and looks at the special editions, and just from watching this and seeing George's interviews and everything, and I already knew this, but this video just reconfirmed. There's no way. Why?
Yeah.
Why would he come back?
Why would you want
To
to put up with that
this-
crap?
Yeah, I was going to say to this fan base, but it's
Yeah,
not.
no, you're right.
This fan base as a whole, it's just
It's a small
it's this
percentage of very loud people.
douche corner over
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
You know what
Look,
I would do if
oh.
I was him? I would take a video of myself and he can do it in like a BB-8 Speedo, jumping into the like Scrooge McDuck pile of money that he has and just backstroking through it and saying, "Yeah, I'm not coming back. I don't want to deal with you people."
I I see it. I see it. I shouldn't. I see it.
Do you see like his pale white gut, or just? Or
God,
just
what are you doing?
or just the chin, or just the chins?
Oh.
But in all seriousness, let me throw where I was going with that. We've seen images of George lately. I love the man, but he's 80. What?
Yeah, he's getting up there.
It's his best ideas are not going to be what we want. So, and I hate to say that, but hey, it is what it is. But let's end on a positive note. I loved our selections for the droids, and of course R2 had to come out on top. I love that. It's great. If you're listening to this on the replay on Monday, first of all, happy 4th of July. It's coming up. This is my last episode before my next birthday, so I'm going to be older even next time. I'm going to be even older. I get older all the time. But if you're listening to it, listen to it on the find the Force Connect podcast stream, because we're going to be migrating that over to there. But in the meantime, Chris, what's happening on coming up on either Nice Guys or on Bro Axiom over the next week or so?
Well, for Nice Guys, Mick and I are going to have 2 episodes we're going to be doing. One is going to be a discussion on the past, what are you saying, the past 10 years of DC Comics, DC Comics movies. So we're doing that. So
more non-controversial positive stuff.
Yeah. Who's got time to be upset with stuff? I mean, there's so much to do.
We are just gluttons for punishment.
There's so much to be upset about.
Oh, yeah. It's terrible.
And then we're going to be talking about, and then for our regular Nice Guys episode, we're going to be, because we talk about movies that we enjoyed, like from like the 70s, 80s, and 90s. And so far, Mick and I have been stuck in the 70s and 80s. So, we'll get to the 90s at some point. But the Young Guns series, we're going to be talking about those 2 movies.
Nice.
And I can't wait. I can't wait.
I can't either.
Awesome.
I'm going to listen to the John Bon Jovi soundtrack.
That's right. Wanted. Those are the lyrics. Sunday, I'm pretty sure. I think they're doing Shooting the Poodle this Sunday. We have 2 comics coming out this coming Wednesday. So we got quick shots on Monday and Tuesday. It's going to be Yoda #9, which has been really good, by Mark Guggenheim, and then the main title Star Wars series by Charles Soule. And it's not even surprising that it's going to be amazing, because Charles Soule is all over. Tuesday we've got Bro Axiom Gaming, and I think I'm probably going to be on that episode with them. We're going to be doing this new wrestling game that came out, AEW Fight Forever, All Elite Wrestling. So we'll be doing that.
That's cool.
And I think the Star Bros have a new episode coming out, I think. So because I know Ben is on vacation with the family right now, so we'll see. But cool. So we have those coming up. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, there will not be a new Around the Galaxy this week. There may be a best of that hits on Thursday, but right now, I can't tell you who we have, but we do have a handful of really interesting, fun guests coming up. Some you're not going to want to miss. So if you're considering being a patron, again, $3 a month gets you into the chat. If you've listened to the Around the Galaxy show, you know that we do dip into the chat when we have our guests on, and we get shout outs to our wonderful patrons. Plus, again, you could win a pop every month, and you'll also get swag and all kinds of good stuff like that. But happy 4th of July to everybody. Happy summer in full swing now. And again, make sure to check us out on all your social media channels. Head over to the SSWnetwork.com. We have a new guest writer named Luke Skynet, who writes a lot of articles, usually about 1 article a day. So go and check that out. And Chris, may the Force be with you.
Always.
Just one more round, friend, then homeward bound, friend. Don't forget me in your dreams. Just one more song, friend, and then so long, friend. The nights get shorter, it seems. Just one more rhyme, friend. Yes, it's a crime, friend. But you know time, friend. Time can fly. So it's good night, friend. Good night, but not goodbye. it.